is now my pleasure to introduce our special guest, Dr. Belle Whelan. For the past 12 years, Dr. Whelan has served as president of the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges, the organization that accredits our institutions. Dr. Whelan received degrees from Trinity University in Texas, Louisiana State University, and the University of Texas at Austin. She is the recipient of numerous awards and recognition, including 6 honorary degrees, Distinguished Alumni Awards, and the AAUW Woman of Distinction Award. She has graciously agreed to attend our meeting today to provide information regarding accreditation and to entertain discussion. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Whelan.
There are 3 things that we ask boards to do. We ask you to make policy, not to administer policy, but to make policy, to put a policy in place for what you want to see done. We ask that you hire, evaluate, and if necessary, fire the CEO. And we ask you to have fiduciary responsibility for the institutions. That is all. When boards start micromanaging, you're stepping out of your lane, and it gets my attention, and then I have to come back in a different capacity. Okay, I have been a board member. It is tough as nails to sit back and let somebody else decide how to do something when you know that you can do it differently and better. I understand that. But I'm hopeful that you have full-time jobs or something else to keep you busy, that you don't feel the need to do that. Because I enjoy coming to Asheville or wherever you're meeting, but I don't want to come back in an official capacity. We have a comprehensive standard that says every board has a clear and appropriate distinction in writing and in practice between the policy-making function of the board and the responsibility of administration and faculty to implement that policy. It is amazing how I can question board members all over the place, and they can tell me the 3 things they're supposed to do are to make policy, hire, evaluate, and if necessary, fire the CEO and have fiduciary responsibilities. But if I go to a board meeting or I read board minutes, it is amazing how they step out of those lanes and go and try to micromanage an institution. We also have a core requirement that says every board, number 1, has to demonstrate it actually has the legal authority over the institution. Generally, for state institutions, the enabling legislation is the one that will give that authority. For faith-based institutions, it's the church board or something that delegates that authority to a group of people at the board. There needs to be a minimum of 5 members, and they're not controlled by a minority of members or by organizations or interests separate from it. I don't know if you read Inside Higher Ed or the Chronicle or even your local paper, but you might have remembered a couple of years ago, the University of Virginia got in trouble with us because there were 3 board members who did not want the president to be there, and so they maneuvered their way to get her out. They got hit with a non-compliance of this one because they had a minority of their board members who was trying to get things done. And that is just not the way to do that one. It is difficult for some board members to understand that as an individual board member, you have absolutely no authority as far as we're concerned. Your authority comes as the board of the whole. And so we ask you to work together to try to get things done on behalf of the institution rather than a small group run stuff. We have both a core requirement and a comprehensive standard that says that you need to have policies that talk about the responsibility and authority of the faculty in governance and academic matters. Faculty have a role in the institution, just like the chancellor has a role in the institution. As I mentioned earlier, we expect that the faculty, who are the subject area experts, will be the ones to come up with curricular decisions, and then unless you have a policy that says, no, we're not going to do that, or you don't have enough money to put it in if they demonstrate that it's going to cost too much, then we expect that you're going to defer to their judgment as the experts in the field. We also ask that institutions have a policy that ensure adequate procedures for safeguarding and protecting academic freedom. Now, I tell faculty all the time, this does not mean that you can say anything you want to say. That is not what academic freedom is. But it does mean that you may disagree with something that a faculty member is teaching in their course, but because they are the faculty and you hired them as a subject area expert, again, unless you have a policy that precludes it, then you're going to have to live with it. We also have one that asks the board to maintain freedom from undue influence. This is probably tougher for boards that are appointed by governors and legislators than it is anybody else, because you feel obligated to do whatever the governor or the appointed people tell you to do. That's a fine line that you have to walk in that position. I told you, I have been a board member. I understand the difficulty there. But with all due respect, governors and legislators run the state. You run the institutions and the Board of Governors. And sometimes you have more information, I would hope, than a governor or legislator does about a particular issue. And you should be able to say, Governor or Senator or Representative, thank you very much. I'll take that under advisement, but I've got a little more information that I need to consider that you perhaps don't have. That's a tough one, and I know it's a tough one, but that is what we expect. We have one standard that says the chairman and a majority of the board cannot have personal or familial or financial interest in the institution. We had an institution, I believe it was here in North Carolina, one of the community colleges, where the chair of the board's son got a job at the college. We had to ask the chairman to step down because there was that perceived conflict of interest that whatever policies the board made, could be influenced by the fact that, he was voting for something that would support his son. We also ask that boards have a policy that talks about how to get rid of board members. Now, for state boards, often there is, especially if you're appointed by the legislature, there is a state statute that will take care of this. And so all you need to do is to adopt that state statute as your policy. If there is not one of those, then you need to have one that describes the process that you will use and the reasons by which you can determine whether a person needs to be off the board.
I have a question about one particular example I'm thinking of, and I'll just try to be general on it, but the role of a board when it relates to curriculum. And in the example that I'm thinking of, there's a school at a campus that has some elderly faculty and is known by the people in the community and people in the university that they have not kept up to date on the curriculum. And the board is aware of it. In that kind of a situation, what is the role of the board? Because they know that the modern techniques are not being taught. They know that it needs to be upgraded, but yet it's an academic area.
From our standpoint, the role of the board would be to bring that to the attention of the president, who would then bring that to the attention of the chancellor of that campus, who would then probably have in his or her evaluation some way to demonstrate that there had been some remediation with that faculty member. One of the things that I try to explain to boards, you have one employee, and that in this case is the president, and you expect her to know everything that's going on in the system. If there's something about which you have a concern, you should ask her and hold her responsible for going to find out what it is that's going on. For you to start calling chancellors and vice chancellors and everybody else just is not productive. First of all, because they're only going to have their myopic view of whatever the issue is and not necessarily know how it fits into the grand scheme of things. And so it does keep me out of your hair if you would work with your president and let her take the hit. She's very well paid. If she's not doing it, remember your goal is to hire, evaluate, and if necessary, fire her.
I was going to say when Dr. Whelan is finished, how much I appreciate her being here, because I've been on this board for 6 years now, and to me, SACS has always been this mysterious thing we hear about, and I have never seen Dr. Whelan, so I'm so happy she's here, and I'm so happy to hear her presentation today, because I think it's something that all of us as board members need to know and understand.